Thank you all for attending. I hope you have a successful fall season. If you need to get in contact with me, I suggest scheduling a call, or you can email me at rmccoy@holganix.com. Thank you all for attending and have a great day. This webinar is Building Your Lawn and Landscape Marketing and Sales Plan. As I mentioned, I am your host for today. I'm the National Sales Manager here at Holganix. Aside from that, I actually owned and sold 2 lawn care companies in the past. And some of what we'll go over today are tips and tricks that we used. One of the lawn care companies we grew to 900 customers in a year and a half with a very limited budget, and sold that. And then the next one, we grew to about 12,500 customers in 4 years. And all of what we're going over today we used, but some of it is things that I hear other people using when I'm doing my job with Holganix. So what we're going to go over today is designing your plan, creating the marketing campaigns, building a champion sales team, some resources for you, and then at any point in time, you can put questions into the question section, and also there will be links in the chat box for scheduling a one-on-one call. If that's something that you feel like you need to get some more detail on some of this stuff, or if you want to see how to work Holganix into this and some of the marketing advantages there. Good fortune is what happens when opportunity meets planning, and that is what we are all about today. So first, we're going to go through designing the sales and marketing plan campaign. So I like to look at some KPIs right off the bat. It's kind of hard to develop a plan if you don't know what success looks like. So some of these things that are ideas that can define success for you. What your revenue goal is. It could be the number of customers that you're looking for. When we started finding it, I guess you could say, easy to acquire customers, that's when we had to start looking at some of the other points. What's our cost per sale? What's our cost per lead? The gross margin per employee, and really tying all that in together to make it more and more efficient. We were actually at a point where we could, with Turnkey, could get 100 customers in a day. We had a 20-person sales room, and we knew when we wanted to get customers, we could get them. The problem was servicing all those customers and training people to service those customers. So sales were not an issue for us. We had that part figured out, but you can only grow as fast as your people can grow. But you want to make sure that you are very clear on how are you, in black and white, how do I know whether or not this sales and marketing campaign is successful? So look at all your numbers, figure out what the goal is, and that way you can always work this plan through your. They're out there. If you're looking at a specific season, the opportunities and threats are critical for seasonality. Your strengths, but they don't change as quickly as the opportunities and threats do. So I always like doing this type of analysis early on, just to see where's the low-hanging fruit. Can we do a Father's Day offer because June's coming up? Looking at the time of year that we're in right now, is there a Labor Day promotion that we could do? Is there a promo around aeration and overseeding that we could do in the fall? All things that we want to make sure that we're paying attention to. As a threat, some of those same things can be threats. Is our competition going to be doing a sales and marketing campaign at the same time? Are they going to be focused on aeration and overseeding? Could we lose customers because they have a new program that they're doing, and it can run parallel to ours, and then eventually they can steal the customer from the program that we're doing. So all things that you want to kind of go through as a team and make sure that you brainstorm together and get that SWOT analysis done. So we want to, as we're going through, and I'm flying through this, and kind of intentionally, because if you're going through this webinar, you're really trying to pick out a few good ideas. If you need to do it from scratch, then we should probably go through one-on-one and pick out some priorities to work on. But I'm really going through this at a fast pace because you just need a few ideas to latch onto and take advantage of, and make sure you see those through to the finish line. We always use a content calendar, and we use a content calendar here at Holganix as well. But you can pick any amount of time. We plan out quarterly, monthly, weekly, yearly. The longer the period of time, the more open you have to be for changing that plan. But you want to make sure that you have it drilled down, and it's not just um, when is this piece going to go out in the mail? When is this social media blog post to have the materials ordered? You want to make sure that you have all the background information in there as well, so that you're not working in a frantic environment because of deadlines that are coming up. You should be able to back into this the same way that if you know what your goal is and you can figure out how, all right, in order, if that's our goal, say your goal is to get 100 customers, and you know that you're going to be able to get 50 customers from a direct mail piece, well, then you put that into the content calendar and do a reverse timeline in order to figure out when you need all the other things done in order to have that go out on time. And you do that with each piece that's going to fill in the numbers that you need in order to get to your overall goal. And then you can see, when you do that reverse timeline, is this even feasible? Do we have enough time to do this? I just mentioned the idea of a Labor Day promo. Well, if you did a Labor Day promo, maybe it can't be that complicated because you have a limited amount of time before Labor Day. So it may just have to be all digital, and it can't be multiple layers to it. But if you are stretching something out to say it's going to be a campaign around prepays for next year, well, you have significantly more time at this point to do that. Here's an example of a content calendar. This is a digital version. I like digital versions, but as you can see, if you look at the next one, you could do a content calendar for whatever fits your need. But the reason I like the digital ones is just because we would have meetings scheduled where we would circle back around, collaborate. Everybody would have different minor projects that they were working on that would complement one campaign. And you may not be in a situation like that. You may be the only person that's working on this, but you still want to have time blocked out to make sure that you're staying on task as you go through. So you may have an hour each week where you're just you're doing all your follow-ups on your timeline. Is this person going to get me the print material when I need it? Is, say that you're doing a giveaway, is the promo material going to be ready in time? Just following up with all your people, and you want to do it on a consistent basis, not when you remember it. So having that easily repeatable action steps within a digital calendar, I thought was really convenient. We used it a lot. So this is a different idea than what most people pay attention to when they immediately go into a sales and marketing campaign. And this was a key success factor for us. And it wasn't because this is what made us grow the fastest. It's because this is what made us the most money. which also helped us grow because we could, use those dollars and invest it back into the sales and marketing. But it was called the Golden Street approach. And basically, what we did was we would identify certain streets within our geography where we wanted customers. We would rate our current customers as A, B, C, and X customers. And we came up with criteria that would make people fall into certain categories. So, for example, an A customer for us was a home between 2 and 10 years old. It was between a quarter acre and a half acre lot. It was on certain streets in certain neighborhoods. These people always paid on time. You could go through a variety of different things. We went down to as much detail as they could not be an A customer if they did not have window treatments in their windows. And the reason for that was um, and we looked at customers and prospects the same way. The reason for that was if they have a choice of what's the priority, they're probably going to get window treatments before they pay their bill for their lawn care. But different things like you heard me say between 2 and 10 years. Why not between 1 and 10 years? Well, we didn't really want a house that was brand new that had a lawn that was trying to establish. That wasn't our sweet spot. Sure, we could be successful with it, but would we be successful with it with a standard maintenance package that we wanted to provide where we could make the most money, just churning through the same application all day long with multiple trucks out on the road? We probably wouldn't be successful for two reasons. One, the soil is typically terrible. The grass seed that was put down is not up to par. And the homeowner's expectations were through the roof because they just built a brand new house. They're going for the American dream, and the American dream did not have a lawn that had exposed dirt and weeds coming up through it and things like that. So we found that those customers that were in a new home that was younger than 2 years old would get very frustrated, and it was understandable. But we would let another lawn care company go in there and try and do it before we would take that customer, because then they would start to get the foundation of what needed to happen on the property going, and the homeowner would also change their expectations. So we got a much better prospect at that point for a homeowner that had a house that was more than 2 years old. And we could make real progress then, and they would give us the time to make that progress. But you want to make sure that when you identify your golden streets, that that's where you spend your time and money on uh, those customers, because that's where you can also get the best referrals, and you're going to have the most profitable customers. You didn't, we would gear once we figured this out, we geared all of our marketing dollars towards this. We stopped doing zip code marketing, and we went down to postal routes and specific streets. And we would canvass those streets on our own, whether we were using frisbees, door hangers, whether we were knocking door to door, whatever it may be. We were, sponsoring 5K runs in certain neighborhoods just because we wanted to be the only lawn care company in that neighborhood. And in certain ones, we were extremely successful, where we would have a neighborhood of 270 properties, and we had over 200 customers in that neighborhood. You look at that, that's a half a route for a lawn care technician, and all they're doing is going to one neighborhood for half of their route. It made it very productive, made it very easy to do the service calls. You see the last bullet point on this. We would, if we had a service call come in for somebody that was an A customer, we would send someone out that day to take care of it. If it was a B customer, they probably get taken care of within 48 hours. If it was the C or an X customer, they probably wouldn't get taken care of until the next application. It was just customers much more. And those were the ones that we wanted to build off of. If an ex customer canceled their service, we didn't try and get them back. We didn't want them in the first place. It was kind of like, we didn't market to them. They found out about us in some other way that didn't cost us anything. And in a lot of cases, when it came time for renewal, we would raise the price of our customer, the customer service, by different percentages based off of whether they were A, B, C, or X customers. So X customers could see something like a 40% increase in their service cost for the following year, because that was the only way that we were going to make enough profit off of them, because they could be on a highway, it could have a terrible hill, the customer could be really difficult to deal with. It could be a variety of different things that it just didn't, it could geographically could be outside of the routes that we're working in, and it just wasn't going to be profitable for us. So we were either going to make it profitable or we were not going to have them as a customer, and that was the easiest way to do it. But sometimes you don't know that going into it, and you just have to learn, kind of what's working and what's not working from the technicians as they're out in the field. Always pay attention to your competition. So we would, with our employees, we would have people that were regularly getting marketed to by our competition, kind of as just spies. Not that they were trying to get insider information, but they would see when something was getting sent out by the other competition, how often they were getting called for, potentially signing on for service. And what offers they were offering. And it was just, it was an easy way to do it. If you kind of set it up and don't think of it every once in a while, you just kind of stay on as a prospect for different main competition that you have in your area, just to make sure that you know what they're offering and when they're offering it. We would also set Google alerts for the competition. So anytime that their name would come up in social media, we would get a notification there. Either we or we could see what their customers were saying. If their customers were unhappy, we could immediately go in there and get a new customer. If their customers were happy, what were they happy about? What were they focused on? It was just a good way. It was good reconnaissance to gather information, and it was surprisingly easy to do. I was not in charge of that, but I was shocked when the person that we had in marketing was like, "Yeah, I get all these notifications every day," and we were like, "Maybe we should pay attention to these every week in our meeting then, and just see if we have to take action on anything." So part two, creating marketing and sales campaigns. So we looked at it in kind of a broad picture, with, what should you be paying attention to? How should you be organizing it? Now we're going to go into specific programs. So one is a referral program. And I harp on people all the time about this, because you can totally build a company just based off of a dynamic referral program. Referrals, if asked for properly, will increase profitability dramatically. So if one of the things that I think is a mistake that people often do is that they will ask for referrals, but they're not specific about it. Are you asking for a neighbor, or are you asking for friends and family? Who do you actually want as a customer? The answer is you want their neighbor, because your profit margin can double if you're doing two properties instead of one. You're eliminating your drive time, the load and unload time, and also the more consistency that you have on one street for your customers. Meaning, if there's 10 houses on the street and 8 of those houses are your customer, then they're not going to, there's not another company coming onto that street very often that they see that as another option for lawn care. So it kind of protects you as well. But you want to look at, one of the things that I would always ask myself when we were designing a referral program was, how is this remarkable? if if somebody gets this, are they actually going to remark about it to their neighbor? Are they going to be motivated by it? So when you think about, back on like the first or second slide, we talked about the KPIs, key performance indicators. What's the cost per sale? So if your cost per sale is typically $100 to acquire a new customer, why not give that money to the person who's referring the customer to you and the new customer? Because then if you're asking for neighbors only and not just friends and family, then you can get a more profitable customer for the same cost per sale. And I would be much happier giving money or credit towards service back to my customers rather than to some marketing company that really has nothing to do with the success of my business. So you want to stay away from the standard referral programs because they're not really motivational. You want to do something a little bit more outside of the box. One of the companies that I worked with in the New England area, um, one of the things that they did was not only did they increase the amounts for the referral and the referee, but they also immediately got entered into a monthly drawing for tickets to some event. Because they were in New England, it could have been to a Boston Bruins game. It could have been to a show, but it had to be an event that was worth making a remark about. And then they would get the publicity that they would put out themselves of, hey, look at the person who won this, because they referred this customer to us. You could have the opportunity to do this as well. And then they would get uh, like a picture while someone was at the event. So say that they would not require, but they would ask them, hey, when you go to the Boston Bruins game, can you just shoot me a picture, let me know how the seats are? And they would get these fantastic pictures of people being happy and saying thank you on social media for it. And then they would be able to post that. So it was a really good cycle. They're still doing it, but it was a really good cycle of positive feedback. And what do you think that the person that went to the Boston Bruins game is doing the next time that they're outside of their house working on their lawn or talking to their neighbors? They're talking to them about your lawn care service because they had such a cool experience going to a Boston Bruins game. And there's plenty of events like that, and it's fun to do, and people really get into it. You could have gift cards as well. We actually did a reloadable like debit card that had our company logo on it, and every time somebody refer a new customer to us, additional dollars were put on that, so they could spend it on whatever they wanted to. But every time they spent it, um, they also were looking at a card that had our logo on it. They knew where that money was coming from. So there was a little bit of extra fees involved with that, but that was really cool to at one point in time when you know we're we were only focused on 2 counties within Pennsylvania at that point in time. Within those 2 counties, you could have 6,000 people uh, that were carrying your credit card with your company logo in their wallet at any point in time. I thought that was pretty cool that they could just not only was it getting reinforced, but they were doing enjoyable things, and that was just for helping us help them. Prepays. A lot of times, people don't think prepays are a sales opportunity. They're a huge selling opportunity. If you don't take advantage of it, you're definitely missing out. The first thing is timing is everything. Make sure that you send your prepays out when you're still doing services for that year. A big mistake that people make is that they'll wait until their services are done, or even wait until the calendar year turns over and then send out their prepay offers. One of the things that happens, even though in lawn care, services typically automatically renew from year to year, um, when someone finishes their last service, they're kind of a free agent. Whether you think of it that way or not, they do. So you want to make sure that when they're in the regular mode of getting services, paying for services, getting phone calls from you, being in regular communication, that's when they're getting their prepay offer for the next year, at least their first prepay offer for the next year. And we had a lot of people that would take advantage of it. And the sooner we knew what our returning customer base was going to look like for the next year, the more plans that we could make, the more training we could implement, um, the more time we had to get our equipment in order if we had to buy new trucks, which we typically did every year. Roping in referrals on the prepays. You can give someone a prepay offer of a percentage off, but you could also say if you were able to refer one of your neighbors, your new prepay amount would be this. So then they would immediately, start thinking, all right, who do I know on my street? Because I'd much rather pay this number than this number. Also combining prepays with additional services. So it says aeration and overseeding on here, and we would do that. But I'll tell you, like when we started like a flea and tick program, we would say rather than give them a discount amount, a percentage discount on their prepay, if they prepaid, they would get the flea and tick program for free for 1 year. And that way, the following year, and we were doing those applications in the same visits, same visit, two applications at once. So it didn't cost us a lot to do that, to have somebody on that additional program. But the following year, we would say, all right, your services renew from year to year. You would put those two services on, but they would have a standard prepaid discount then. If you prepay for the whole thing, you get a percentage off. But it was a way to introduce new programs and new services into your existing customers. And it was beneficial for them. I mean, that's a heck of a prepaid discount, but you're not discounting off of what they were already agreeing to. They're getting a discount for additional services. Cancel saves. Everybody hates talking about cancels. I hate talking about cancels too. But cancel customers, don't let somebody just say they want to cancel service and you say okay, and maybe they give you a reason and that's it. You want to have a process for this, where we used a single person because we gave them a lot of ability to make things right for the customers. They also had to be pretty seasoned in not just the communication and the customer service, but actually the agronomics that would go into that. So did they have a problem that we could fix? Was it agronomic? Was it customer service related? Was it billing related? You had to have someone that was pretty dynamic that would handle those. And that's not a lot of people typically within a specific company. So you want to make sure that um, you have a process, a list of questions that you're going to go through, that they're going to that you're the worst case scenario is you're going to learn how you could be better. um, and the real question that you're asking them is what's on here. How do I get you to be a happy customer again and refer me to a friend? Because people will say they're happy with the service. My judgment of someone who's happy with the service is someone who is consistently getting me referrals. I want you to get me all of your neighbors if you're actually happy with the service. And if you're not that happy, how do I make you that happy? And when you ask some questions like that, um, people will give you really simple answers. And you're surprised because you're like, I would have done that in the first place if I would have known it. I wish that you know you guys would just call me ahead 2 days in advance, rather 1 day in advance, because sometimes I don't have time to go clean up all the kids' toys in the yard. And even though we would clean up the kids' toys in the yard, it was still just that was what was bothering them. So oftentimes when we would ask those questions, we were more than happy to fulfill whatever requests they had. um, and also don't forget that you can resell to a cancel list. So we typically would hit our cancel list before we would hit new prospects in the beginning of the spring season, which the beginning of our spring season, we would start that February 1st. and sometimes earlier. But we typically had a January that was, um, I guess, flexible. We were working on other projects, and we gave it the green light February 1st and started really. We didn't ever go at 50%. It was either 100% on or 100% off of sales, just because that momentum, when we were really focused on it, we could 100% focus on it, and people build off of other people's momentum, and we would tend to get a better overall result that would cost us less, than kind of dipping our toe in the water at different times. And I have mentioned the people that you work with, and we're going to go into building a winning sales team. So for hiring, sales is totally a numbers game. So hire for numbers. Um, I would always say hire slow and fire fast. But the only way that you can do that is if you're constantly building a bench of new potential hires. So interviewing is a constant year-round thing that you want to do. And I would always interview for culture. Are these the type of people that I want to work with? I don't care what they know. Do I want to work with them? Would I hang out with them at a barbecue? Would I go have a beer with them? Different things like that. When I walked into the office in the morning, if they were there, would I be happy that they were there, or would it just be neutral? Because if I found people that I really wanted to work with, that had the right mindset and like that go-getter attitude, they had the grit to do whatever it takes. Because typically we're in small business. When you're in small business, you have to have people that are like Swiss Army knives, that are not only have the ability to do things, but are willing to do things, that may not be within the regular scope of their work. So we would always hire on culture, and that really worked out for us. I say always. The reason why we knew it worked was because when we didn't hire on culture and we would get somebody that came from another company, it was just never that great of a fit. We would take this top sales guy from our competition, and they would come into the sales room, and it just wasn't a comfortable feel. I would rather take somebody that wanted to be successful, that didn't know how they were going to be successful, that were just good people, and teach them how to be successful. And they appreciated that more, and that fit better into exactly how we were trying to do things. So hire on culture and fit, and you can train the willing. One other thing to keep in mind is that every person at the company should be a salesperson. Um, it was, I think that we were, when we had about 6 people at the company. Um, that was kind of when it hit for us, when we would come in on Saturday mornings and hit the phones and call for upsells of aeration and overseeding, or a grub preventative or something like that. Um, it didn't matter whether the person was a salesperson or not. We could build a lot of momentum that way. Typically, the customers, especially for upsells, want to talk to their technicians. So the technicians could make a really nice commission, on their off time, because it was like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, the customer wanted to talk to the technician. They wanted to get feedback from them. They may miss them all the time because the customer's working when the lawn's getting done. Um, and when the technician said, "Hey, I think you should get this service done," they would actually be able to talk about that specific property rather than using a salesperson that stays in the office all the time. If it's for new customers, I think it's hit or miss. But on upsells, definitely use the technicians as much as you possibly can. I started off as a technician in lawn care, and quickly realized the benefit of selling because I had commission opportunity. And I would go get my route done and come back at the end of the day and immediately start doing sales. And I loved it. And I probably made more money doing sales than I did treating lawns. And that was because I just had a good rapport with the customers that I was taking care of. That happens in every single lawn care company. It's just a matter of getting somebody into a comfortable situation, and not that somebody is the technician, not the customer, and giving them the ability to make more money, and giving them the training on how to do that. And the training doesn't have to be complicated, especially if it's upsells. They already know what they're talking about with the properties of the homeowners that they're talking to, and that if it's a single service upsell like grub preventative or something like that, it's very easy to understand, very easy to train on, and very easy for them to be successful. So I think that every person in every lawn care or landscape company should have the opportunity to make a commission on sales, um, because you may find some diamonds in the rough. We also made sure that we focused on development, and that was typically because we were growing so fast. We had to, if our people weren't growing with us, then we had to slow our growth. So institute an onboarding program. We would do continuous training, whether that was in-house or with a third party. We would use consultants to do different selling processes, so that it wasn't the same voice every single time that they were hearing. We would do daily huddles that would talk about, what they learned the previous day, how they were successful, what obstacles they were facing, talk through that. And 10 minutes later, we, all had new ideas going into the day, how we could be successful. We made sure that we set goals. We followed up on them all the time. And we knew, and we all celebrated as a team anytime that someone hit a goal. And just make sure that you're providing constant feedback. This all seems simple, and I'm sure it's not the first time that you heard it, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because I can tell you that we hear all this stuff from the self-help world and the business community of, here's all the ways to be successful. These are ways that were definitely successful in your industry for people doing what you do. So I think it's important that you focus on these key points, and be organized about it, and make a constant effort towards it. So that pretty much wraps everything up. Here's the information as far as the things that were mentioned during the webinar. You can go to the link for the marketing calendar. This is all going to get emailed out to you, by the way. You can get more information on the Golden Street approach, monitoring competition online, building your lawn care marketing plan video, some information about SurveyMonkey, which we used and still use to gather information from our customer base. Different things about NPS scores to know really how you're doing, how you're rating with your customer base. And then there's some different links for the marketing support that we offer, and that could be just blog posts that you can use if you're using Holganix products that can give you more credibility with your customer base, and how you differentiate yourself from your competition.